welcome back. So we're gonna start off today with, I'm just gonna kind of show you some of the prep that I did for these two tumblers that we're gonna make in this particular tutorial. Now these downloads are from Happyfox Supply Co. And I do have a link down below for them, and she has a lot of really cool stuff. Now, with this particular tumbler, I went and spray painted it white, and then I put a coat of epoxy on it, thinking that it would be a little bit easier. We'll talk about that later. But these are the downloads that I downloaded with Happyfox. She does have a little special going on, and these are all the downloads that I got for one price. And then if you buy 3, you get 1 free. And so I ended up getting a lot of downloads from her. Now, this particular download is... you could do a lot of things with this. Like, you could cut just vinyl and use it for the top or the bottom. You can use it like I'm using it here, and I'm using it for I'm doing a sticky sheet because I want to do particular glitters with this. And so I don't need to make it in these different colors, so I just brought it into Cricut Design Space, and I attached it so that we could cut it on the double-sided tape that I have, that's like cat scratch paper or whatever. I use a washi sheet in order to cut it, and I just measured my tumbler to make sure that it was the length, you know, the width and the height that we needed it. So I used my Cami Page, you know, Ultimate Tumbler tool, and to get me a little straight line there. Now, the reason that I put painted it white, spray painted it white, and put a coat of epoxy was I thought it would help me keep the paint on there if I needed to, like, adjust this or, you know, pull it off and try to work with it and everything. It wasn't as successful as I thought, but it did kind of work a little bit. But I did have a couple of places where the sticky part kind of pulled the epoxy and the paint off, but whatever, you know, I was trying to come up with a way that it would work out better. I don't know that I necessarily suggest doing that, but one of the things that I will say that the Ultimate Tumbler tool does help you with is get you a straight line, and it helps because this, you know, whole thing kind of needs to line up on either side, right? So it's nice to have that thing. And I tell you what, I broke mine before this video. Right after this video, I broke mine, and I mean, it fell on my tile floor and shattered. And it wasn't my fault. I've dropped it like 100 times because I just move it around and I don't even think about it. And this time I'm going to treat it much more nicely and make sure that I do not drop it. But anyways, I ordered a bunch of stuff from Cami Page, and I had to order a new one because, anyways, I have really been struggling without it. You'll see some of my videos coming up. Anyways, this is my other Cami Page boutique tool. It's a vinyl cutter. This one was a little bit difficult too because it was just stuck to that epoxy and just everything. But anyways, I ended up getting it off, but it does help out just kind of keeping that, you know, cutting off whatever you need in a straight line for that bottom or top of your tumbler. And there are 3 stages in this, so you can cut, you know, different size tumblers or different size lengths, or I mean widths, or whatever you want for the bottom part there. So this is also my Cami Page boutique tumbler holder. I really could not function without this thing, I'm telling you. I used to have my 2 little TNT sticks that were like old Cricut things, anyway, rolls, little cardboard rolls, and this is so much easier to work with. It's so much better. It's I can't tell you. Anyways, totally worth it. But so anyways, I wrapped this around. This is the cat scratch double-sided tape, whatever you have, whatever works for you, whatever cuts best in your machine. You know, I would say just work with that. You know, try out a few, or if you find the one that works, just use that every time. So I got this package from Krista at Peachy Olive Glitters, and it had Double Dare, Belieber, and a muck, and it was kind of a Halloween pack, and I was really excited, and I wanted to use it, but I wasn't sure like what to do exactly. And so I wanted to use Double Dare and Belieber, but I I thought about the yellow at first, and then I went and got Crush, and I thought, okay, the orange I think would go a little bit better. It was a little bit lighter orange than I maybe would have wanted, but anyways. So I took off the bottom part there. I don't know what happened to the recording of that, but I will show you how I did the top part. But anyways, I just removed that sheet that's on top of the double-sided tape, and then it reveals double-sided tape, and I just poured a muck over it, and I rubbed it in as best I could, burnish it or whatever you want to call it, because it was a pretty chunky mix. So I just went over it with Expo, which is like a holographic black color, and I thought it could fill in any of those little spots that we might have missed in the, you know, application of the muck in the that bottom half there. We're also going to use that to cover the bottom because our bottom was looking pretty nasty at that point, but it was okay. I'm going to fix it, no worries. I did end up taking off all the little tiny lines that were in between each one of those little things. I would suggest taking those off and just kind of going with it and not worrying about it, because to me they're just too much of a hassle to deal with, in my opinion. So anyways, I went in with these lines here, and I mean, this design is so cool from Happyfox Supply Co. that, I mean, you could do a million different things with this. It's really versatile, and I mean, with the different vinyls that you could cut, you know, because you could remove pieces of this. You could even use vinyl just for the middle part of those swirls. You could use vinyl for the top or for the bottom or for both, or design your own thing, or, you know, I mean, there's all kinds of things you could do with this. And I just think it's really cool. And I mean, it's something that you pay the one time for, and then you can use it 100 times, and you could have one particular style that you go with for, you know, certain types of tumblers or certain styles of tumblers or whatever. Anyways, I'm thinking about doing one for a baseball team that's going really far in the playoffs, you know, for down here in Texas. Anyways, so I'm thinking about doing something like that for this. So you could really use it a lot, and it's very, very simple to use. You just plug it into your Cricut or your Silhouette, have it cut it out, and you're done. And that's it, and then stick it on the tumbler. So I like these those real rough bristle brushes to brush off some of the glitter. And I would make sure that you just tap off whatever glitter you're using for that particular section that you just did. Tap it off, and then clean that glitter up, put it back in the jar, and then brush it off, just like I'm doing here, because you don't want, you know, anything getting in there. Like, you don't want, if you accidentally brush an orange or a yellow or, you know, black piece or whatever in your white, you wouldn't want that. So this top color is satin. You could also use silk for this as well. It's a very beautiful color. It has a lot of, you know, like a iridescent color to it, and it's a perfect white to have such sparkle underneath. So I was sent this holographic paper. The reason I'm doing these two is because they're both from Happyfox Supply Co. This one I used Google Docs, and I just went in and measured my tumbler, and I printed off on this holographic paper. And it's really cool because it has these little stars and like circles and things. And I just thought it would be really cool for this particular design and what I had in mind. I just thought the holographic, you know, is going to really add a little bit of an edge to this, and so it'll be really cool. Anyways, they sent this to me. They did send me a coupon code. It's a little kind of different in the way that you have to use their website and everything, but if you are interested in buying some printer paper for different types of things like this, vinyl or, you know, sticker paper, whatever, they do have some on their site. They have Waterslide paper. I will add everything that I have from them, and you can decide whether or not. I would say that I absolutely loved the print quality on this, and I loved the way it looked on the tumbler. I think it was an awesome look to it, and the quality was amazing. As far as like buying from them and everything, I have not done that, but they did offer me a code, and I have been in communication with these people, and so I just want you to know that they seem legit and everything looks on the up and up. But if you want to participate, or if you want to check it out, I'll have everything linked down below for you. So once again, we did a wrap, very simple. I used my tool to make sure that I got a straight line, and then I wrapped it around. And now what I'm gonna do here is I am adjusting, because I adjusted it for, I don't know why, I think I used it on something else or whatever, but I cut the bottom part. Now this stuff is uber thick, like super, super thick. So as far as like putting it in your Cricut and using it, I mean, I would definitely maybe use like cardstock or whatever. I did not use my Cricut on this because I just printed it from the Google Docs, and then I just cut it like you saw on my paper cutter, but it is uber thick. And so when I used my cutter here, I really had to like go over it like 3 or 4 times in order to get it, you know, just right. I mean, in order to get it off of it, basically. But I did move this down. I took my blade and always use something else other than your fingers to take it in and out. But I moved it down all the way so that I could cut the top, because I didn't want the top to have like a major gap. And so I just put it down to the lowest, you know, part of it. And see, I had to like go over this like several times in order to get it off of there, and I finally got it. But this stuff is thick. So anyways, I don't know if you could use it in any other way than this, but this is really cool look for like sublimation type of look, you know, if you wanted to go for it. Anyways, I was very impressed with the quality and the look of the paper. So, and I'm using my Kami Page tools, which are so helpful. Oh my gosh, I just can't tell you how I would function without them in my life on a daily basis. But Happyfox Supply Co. has this whole set of downloads like I showed you in the very beginning, and this was one of them. She has a decal that kind of goes with it. I had another decal that I had already printed that I wanted to use, and so I didn't use that particular one because I didn't want to print anything else. I didn't want to cut anything else. So I just was like, I'm going to utilize what I already have, and I thought it went really well with it. But she does have decals with this, and there's other designs, and it all comes in one little package. And so you can buy that package, and then you can have that in your little set, and there's just so much to choose from, and you just got to go check her out. She has vinyl now and everything. Really cool to be associated with her in any way. Anyways, I did take some Mod Podge, and I covered this. I just sealed this in because the print, I don't know, I used a laser printer, but it just seemed like it was just a little bit like I could feel kind of the ink was not fully saturated in there. And so I just thought, you know what, before I go on with epoxy, I'm just going to seal this in. And it worked perfectly fine. There was no problem whatsoever with putting a little coat of Mod Podge on there, and everything after that was fine. But I just felt like I needed to maybe seal that in before I went in with everything epoxy-wise and all of that. I did clean that bottom part off because I wanted to keep it. I was not going to put epoxy over the bottom. I've been kind of playing with that a little bit more because I just feel like it's just so much easier not to have to finish that bottom off. But it is a chore in the sense that you have to make sure that you're not going all the way down. Because I did the very first thing I did was go all the way down and go over the bottom of the tumbler. So I was like, oh, I'm not supposed to do that. But I don't want to have to tape it off every single time, so I just have to kind of mentally be, you know, looking and seeing that, okay, don't go any further than you're supposed to on this tumbler, you know, on the bottom wise. But you can clean it off, no big deal. It's no harm, no foul. But I went in with this coat of epoxy here, and then I went in with this one. I actually took outside and sprayed it about 4 times because I did not want any of that black to go up in there. I had already had a problem with the line on the one side. It kind of got a little bit jostled whenever I was putting the glitter on there, and so I was like, no problem, I have a way to fix this. But I was like, I'm going to show y'all kind of how you could fix this if this happened. No big deal, no harm, no foul. You know, we're going to figure this out. But I did want to spray it to make sure that we didn't have too much movement on any of this, because this was like a little bit more. I should have maybe gone with a little bit different color scheme, but I wanted to use all 3 that came in that bundle. And so this was the way that my mind came up with it. So anyways, I took it outside and sprayed it with clear seal spray like 3 or 4 times. And I still got movement, but that was the way that I could get it to do it as quickly as I could. So here I'm just going to go over a little bit about how I cleaned the bottom off. I just took baby wipe and just kind of ran my finger, you know, with that baby wipe on the bottom there and just kind of pushed it up and made sure that it was nice and clean. And that epoxy will move down a little bit more, and that's fine, but I wanted it to have kind of a little bit of room in order to move over so we could seal, you know, that bottom, but not seal the bottom part of that vinyl piece of the tumbler, but not the actual bottom of the tumbler. So I used Norma Jean. If you do not have this, you are missing out. I promise it is something you want to have in your collection for sure. I used Norma Jean and I put that right in the middle. I was like, you know, it has to have some glitter, right? And so I thought this is kind of like a clear, silvery, holographic, iridescent. I mean, there's just all kinds of stuff going on in here. And I just thought it would add a little bit of sparkle and kind of separate, you know, that in the middle there. I mean, the transition was perfectly fine. You could not really tell where the skulls start and the, you know, and the leopard print started or whatever. But I just thought it would be fun to add a little bit of glitter, and I knew that the Norma Jean was going to be perfect in this. It wasn't going to kind of take away, it wasn't going to add too much, it was just going to add that sparkle, which is what I was looking for. And after that cured, I went in with another coat of epoxy so that I could, you know, cover all that glitter up. And then also so I could do a little bit of sanding on that glitter area if I needed to, and then add the decal that I had for this particular tumbler. So that's why I added another coat after this. Now we don't have any like real thick glitter or anything on this tumbler, so a few coats here and there is not going to cause this. It still feels very, very thin at this point, very lightweight and everything. So there was not a problem in my mind, you know, but just putting another coat just to seal that glitter in and making sure that we could do a little bit of sanding if we needed to. So I went in with another coat of epoxy for this particular tumbler because I was going to be needing to sand and do all of that because the decal that I had for this was clear and it needed, clear around the edges. So I needed to have a, you know, nice clear spot for me to put it on. So this design was pretty active, so I just kind of left that seam on the back and just made it as a back seam. I thought about putting it up high, and then I was like, no, I'm going to put it in the middle, which is where I wanted to put it in the very beginning. And this particular decal, I printed it on plain holographic paper, and so I just wanted to kind of utilize it on top of that other holographic paper, and I thought it went really well. So here I needed to do a little bit more sanding, but I just did not sand or use my file up into that one white part where the dip of that swirl was a little bit further down. I didn't do any sanding there so that I could add my decal there, but I did sand anywhere I needed to around that. And I was going to be doing the rim and the bottom and all of this. So I just kind of was like, let me just get the decal on here so that I can put another coat and, you know, we can just move on as far as getting this nice and smooth and covering the bottom and, you know, fixing the top and covering up our little mistake on the side and all of that. And after all that, I did take some alcohol and clean it off. And then I was ready to put my decal on. This decal is from Peachy Olive Glitters, and I took a piece of transfer tape and put it over it and used it that way because this is already printed, so you can you're not worried about anything happening to it. That's already sealed and printed on there the way it is and everything. So you could just pick it up and use it that way. So this little collection of bats came with those decals too, and so all I did was take my little scissors and I cut them up, and I was going to kind of use them to cover up those little lines that we made that were accidentally done when we had the sticker paper there. I was like, I'm going to try to cover these up, and so I just used the bats in order to kind of cover those up. And I knew that I was going to be putting some black vinyl, some of that chrome vinyl. I was going to be putting that along those lines, those swirl lines. I was going to be outlining them with that. And so I was like, that's fine. We can just put, you know, these bats and covering up those little black spots that we had. And then I just kind of took them, did that along those sides of the swirls there. And then I just kind of took them and trailed them, you know, going up and kind of over around the tumbler, just to kind of cover up any other little mistakes on that line, or just to kind of give the illusion that the bats were just kind of coming up and flying away, you know. So we did have that image that we needed in order to kind of have a spooky look that would go along with this decal, with the tumbler, with the Halloween, and all of that stuff. So I had this black holographic vinyl that I had kind of left over, and I went around and did this, but I actually had a problem with it, and I ended up having to take it off and put the black chrome on. But I left this in here because, I mean, I basically did the same exact thing with the black chrome. I just didn't film it because it was like I was like, man, I have to take this off. It looks terrible. It got stretched out when I was pulling it around or whatever, and I cut it to kind of match, to kind of go around the bats that were there. And I should have done this a little bit differently. I probably should have done the lines and then gone around and then done like a coat of epoxy and then put the bats on there. But I wanted to do it all at once, you know, because I was being impatient, which I always tell y'all, do not be impatient. But anyways, this is basically what I did. I just took these off and put a black chrome that I had already cut. And so it was just, that's why I left this in here. But if you notice in the end, it's just a black chrome and not the black holographic. But I think either way, whatever you wanted to do on this is going to be perfectly fine. I just wanted to outline those lines just to give them a perfect, clean look in the end. So now we're going to address this ugly, ugly bottom here, and we are going to tape off. I have put I'm taking the painter's tape here, and I am just going along that edge at the bottom, just making sure that it kind of has a straight line there. And no big deal, because we're going to be using that black Expo to cover this up. So, you know, you want the line to be straight, but you don't have to get crazy and, like, you know, get tools out or anything for it, you know, level or anything. But I did go down a little bit on this, just to make sure that, you know, we didn't get any paint or anything on there, which I end up getting paint on there anyway. But because it got on my fingers because I wiped something, you know, anyways, just a mess. But I did it so that I could protect the tumbler, but then I ended up screwing it up myself. But no, I was able to get it off. But it was just one of those moments. You're like, what is happening? Why is this happening? And then I realized that, oh, the paint is on my fingers. That's why, because I'm trying to wipe it off, but it's being even worse. Anyways, so, and this is why I wear like old clothes when I craft or do anything like this, because I use my clothes as like a rag, you know. I just wipe it on my shirt or my pants or whatever. And so if I'm wearing anything nice, it'll be ruined 2 seconds if I'm in the craft room. Anyways, I used just a black acrylic paint, nothing big, nothing too extravagant, and I didn't put any glue or anything like that. This is a fine mix from PEACHY Olive's X Pro, and it was the same thing I used to cover the black part at the bottom, just to kind of fill in wherever we needed to. And so I just used it as the adhesive, because it's just the bottom. It's fine, it's black, no big deal, right? So I did remove the tape very quickly after that, and you can see there my little splash of paint, and then I realized, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm the one doing it. Let me wipe myself off before I start messing up this whole thing. So I set that to dry, and then I went in with coats of epoxy, and that's basically what I did at this point, was to dry, seal, cover, epoxy, you know, just get them finished up for their, you know, final display, because you got to make sure that you put on your final coats of epoxy, and then they're ready to either ship out or sell or use or whatever your goal is at this point. But I do love the way this one turned out. It's really cute with the glitter. I think the glitter was like a perfect little addition to this. It didn't take away too much, but added some shine. So I don't know, I really liked it. I really liked the way it came out. Once again, I zoomed in really good here just to kind of show you how I used my little finger covered with that baby wipe and just wiped all the way down there like that, just to make sure that you know, we were covering up, or getting the rest of that epoxy off the bottom and allowing it to have a good seal. Now I did do some sanding on this. I sanded the around where anything that I sanded around the bottom so that we could get a real nice seal on that bottom part, and then around where the glitter was, and then anything around the sticker. I did have a couple pieces of the sides that kind of came up a little bit, but no big deal. It's kind of a rough look anyway, so it didn't add anything to it, or didn't take away anything or whatever. So I just went in with a couple coats of epoxy for final coats, and that was it for that one. So you can see here, I kind of changed up that vinyl a little bit. I took it and sealed the bottom up really well so that I wouldn't get you know, any movement in that. And then I did a little bit of Mod Podge and sealed up all of the decal. And no, I take that back. I did not use Mod Podge. I used the sealer as the sealer for everything, right? So I took it outside and sprayed it with the spray sealer for the bottom and for around all of the whole tumbler. Now, as you can see, the top still has a little bit of black kind of mixed in there, and so I went ahead and put a coat of epoxy on this so I could seal everything in and make sure that I wasn't going to be causing any problems with decals or lines or anything like that. So I went ahead and did this coat of epoxy, and then after that I went in and did a whole bunch of sanding and did the rim up. So as you can see here, I sanded the bottom and everything here, and then I went around and did a really good sanding on the top part to expose that rim and to kind of get away from all of that black that was up there on that white part. So I did my best in the sense to try to clean this up, but my most important part of this whole Tumbler experience was to introduce you to these beautiful, amazing you know, downloads from Happyfox Supply Co. I really think that this particular design here could go all different kinds of ways for you. It would be something definitely cool to have in your collection, your arsenal, ready to go. But like I said, these I went in with my final coats, and then we were done. And there she is, so cute. I love it. I think this particular design with the skulls and the leopard print, you know, you could really go anywhere with it. And I love the freedom that she kind of gives you with the download, and you can take it and do whatever you want to with it, add whatever decal you want. There are so many to choose from. I just picked the coolest ones that I thought and what I kind of wanted to do at this particular time. But there's so much to choose from. You've got to go and check her out. She always has like a little special where you buy 3 and you get 1. So I bought that whole package for like $5 or $6. I don't even know. It was like dirt cheap. And then I got, you know, bought a couple more, and then I got a free one. And so it was just really worth it. The links and everything to hers are down below. I just love the mix of the chunky glitter on the bottom, and then kind of bringing those colors up in through those stripes. This is something you can definitely use for 100 different things, personalize, whatever. Anyways, please like and subscribe and comment and ring that bell. Join my Facebook. Everything's linked down below. I'll see you next time.